Okay, so what the fuck happened to the feminist movement from 2023? In my last essay, I talked through how this dumpster of a country is stealing my mojo and tanked my motivation to travel for the holidays. After taking that deep dive, I came to the conclusion that the shit show state of things today was seemingly coming out of nowhere. But was it? Remember, this was us in 2023.
Oh, I love being a woman.
What happened to the big feminist movement from a couple years ago? How the hell did we get here? Let's quickly run through how a foundation is properly built. First, the permits are secured. Second, the site is fully excavated. Third, the formwork is laid and reinforcements installed. And formwork, if you're not familiar, is a temporary or permanent mold used to hold wet concrete in place until it hardens and gains its strength. Remember this for later. After that, the concrete is poured, and then lastly, the formwork is removed, leaving the concrete to stand strong. Alright, let's start at the top. Step 1. We sought the permits. Take a trip back in time with me to the year 2019. Simone Biles became the most decorated gymnast in World Championship history. Saudi Arabia made major changes to its guardianship laws, allowing women more freedoms. The Hustlers movie came out, sparking warm fuzzies in the sisterhood department. NASA completed its first all-female spacewalk. Angelica Ross became the first trans person to host a presidential forum. And, drumroll please, the Barbie movie was making the rounds in conversations again, as it was to get a new lead, replacing Amy Schumer, thank God I don't like her, with Margot Robbie, and bringing in Greta Gerwig to co-write the script, also a good move, to hopefully get things moving along. We had no clue where that little movie concept would take things next. Alright, moving on to step 2. We excavated the site. Merrily, we rolled along and voted that horrendous orange creature out of office, shuffling in the era of Biden and Harris in 2021. During Trump's initial term, he managed to get permanently banned from Twitter and impeached twice. That second impeachment was for causing an insurrection of the U.S. Capitol. And surprisingly, please time travel back to December of 2025 to see why I chose to say surprisingly here. That was enough for the American people to vote his ignorant tyrant ass out of office. Seeing Harris as the first woman in the VP seat was the breath of fresh air we all needed to set things straight again.
We did it, Joe. You're gonna be the next president of the United States.
Let's skip ahead now to 2022. The Supreme Court had confirmed the first Black woman justice. The Coast Guard appointed its first female leader. U.S. women's soccer scored an equal pay settlement, and the first marketing piece of the Barbie movie hit the internet. And the general public lost their ever-loving minds. What unfolded next was one of the best marketing runs for a motion picture in this decade. Barbie was everywhere. Stores after stores and brands after brands were hopping on the craze, partnering with Mattel to make their own Barbie-branded products. Everybody ate that shit up, and Mattel ranked in some serious bank. Who were they profiting off of? Women like me, who were grasping at all the perpetual straws to regain parts of their girlhood that we've had to shed in order to grow up and be taken seriously. And while that year did not pass without its tremendous losses as well, like the overturning of Roe v. Wade and the murder of Masha Amini, women across the states were ready to take up arms to fight together and to celebrate together. Because we're women, and we have the capacity to do both. The movement supporting the Barbie movie gave so many permission to bring back their uninhibited joy around their femininity, and we were ready to ride that wave of change across society to make it an asset that women possess, not a deficit. Step 3. We laid the formwork and installed reinforcements. In 2023, we continued to make small advances to better this country for women. This was the year that 4 criminal indictments were filed against Donald Trump, which, at the time, felt like a huge deal and a step forward. Harvey Weinstein, who was already serving a 23-year prison sentence in New York, is sentenced again in Los Angeles to an additional 16 years in prison for charges of rape and sexual assault. Over to the flip side with some good news. LaFonza Butler would become the first out Black lesbian to join Congress. She would also be the sole Black female senator serving in Congress and only the 3rd in U.S. history. Claudia Golding became the first solo woman awarded the Nobel Prize in Economics. Even more remarkably, she won for studying obstacles women face in obtaining equal pay. WNBA star Candace Parker became the first woman to call the NBA All-Star Game. Taylor Swift was named Time's 2023 Person of the Year, making her the first woman to appear twice on a Person of the Year cover. Beyoncé became the most awarded artist in Grammy history when she won her 32nd trophy in the Best Dance/Electronic Album category that year. And Greta Gerwig made history when Barbie achieved the biggest debut ever for a film directed by a woman, with $162 million in North American ticket sales. Let's revisit the phenomenon that was Barbenheimer. Fans of both the highly anticipated Barbie and Oppenheimer films flocked to theaters for their double features, as they both had the same release date in July of 2023. This laid the formwork of women and men coexisting at a very high point in the entertainment industry. Oppenheimer, a story that, in nature, is very masculine, dialogue-heavy, and, well, bleak, appealed to a masculine-leaning audience. And the Barbie movie was quite the opposite. It was pink, it was fun, it was preppy, it was filled to the brim with diverse women and men actors, and was a film whose mention was never too far away from someone cheerfully and genuinely evoking a gleeful, "Hi, Barbie! Hi, Barbie!" from their vocal cords. I mean, it was a whole damn movement. Women were taking over the media in a positive way for what felt like the first time in forever. Think about it. When you hear about women collecting in droves on the news, it's almost always in regards to a march or a protest. But this time, we were gathering to celebrate girlhood, each other, and relish in this space that was pure and fun. So naturally, what comes next? Taking all this headway, all this progress generated from the mainstream media, and pouring the concrete into the formwork so we could solidify this energy, continue to support women in society, and make it all stand solid in place for the generations to come. This was going to be real change. Okay, so we moved on to step 4. We poured the concrete. All right, we have a lot of ground to cover in 2024. Pun intended. We were busy, ladies. Let me sum up what all happened. In January, the Eras Tour is in full swing. This tour was the epitome of girlhood, providing women and girls everywhere a safe space to let their hair down, scream their hearts out, make the friendship bracelets, and be a part of something larger than themselves. Also in January, Lily Gladstone won a Golden Globe Award for her performance in Killers of the Flower Moon. Gladstone is the first person who identifies as Indigenous to win Best Performance by a female actor in a dramatic motion picture. In February, disgraced R&B singer R. Kelly is sentenced to 20 years in prison in a Chicago federal courtroom on charges of child pornography and enticement of a minor. March brought in Beyoncé's 8th solo album, Cowboy Carter, conceived as Act 2 of her 3-act project that began with her previous album, Renaissance. Her country tune, Texas Hold'em, was a first for a Black woman topping both country and pop music charts. Beyoncé's cultural impact here was also honored this year when Billboard named her Artist of the 21st Century. In April, Pope Francis dedicated his prayer intention to the role of women, urging recognition of their dignity and worth in every culture and an end to discrimination. April was also recognized as International Black Women's History Month, a movement initiated by Shaw Battle and recently passed by the Virginia State House and Senate, highlighting Black women's contributions throughout history. In May, Billie Eilish released her third studio album, Hit Me Hard and Soft, ushering us all into a moody end-of-spring vibe before things ramped up in the summer. Megan Thee Stallion also kicked off her Hot Girl Summer tour that summer. This successful summer for her came upon the heels of winning her trial against Tory Lanez, who was sentenced to 10 years in prison. Come on, June! Brat's summer began with Charli XCX releasing her album, Brat. This sparked a flurry of retro feminine fashion, music, and hype. A Quiet Place Day 1 also releases with Lupita Nyong'o as the lead. In July, we also set up Kamala Harris for her election run. Celine Dion also gave a show-stopping performance at the Eiffel Tower. That closed out the opening ceremony of the 2024 Summer Olympics. In August, U.S. sprinter Sha'Carri Richardson wins gold in the women's 4x100 relay. She also won silver in the 100-meter dash. And then Doechie's album, Alligator Bites Never Heal, was released in August of that year and performed very well, achieving critical and commercial success by winning a Grammy for Best Rap Album, hitting the top 10 on the Billboard 200, and being named the best-selling female rap album in the U.S. in the first half of 2025. The project also reached number 1 on the UK R&B albums chart and was certified gold. Also that month, Chappell Roan had a historical Lollapalooza performance. If you want to see the photo, head over to the article on Substack. It's super impressive. And then Sabrina Carpenter's 2024 album release, Short and Sweet, featured hit singles like Espresso and Please, Please, Please. That album was also a commercial success, debuting at number 1 in multiple countries, including the US, and was certified platinum in September. Speaking of September, Josh Greenbaum's Will and Harper, a documentary about comedian Will Ferrell exploring his friendship with Harper Steele, who comes out as a trans woman while embarking on a cross-country road trip, is released on Netflix. This documentary furthered conversations around how we can lift up the transgender community. And then in October, Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum is congratulated at her inauguration in Mexico City on October 1st. She is the country's first female president. Heading over to November, the first installment of Wicked, starring Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande, hits theaters, causing another swell of pride among women and theater fans alike. And then December was a big Women in the Music Industry month. Rolling Stone's 100 Best Albums list of 2024 featured 8 women artists in the top 10, including Charli XCX's Brat at number 1, Beyoncé's Cowboy Carter at number 2, and various artists like Sabrina, Billie, Tyla, Ariana, Doechii rounded out the list. We had a good fucking year, y'all. Then there's what comes next. Step 5. We removed the formwork to let the concrete stand, and it fell. It crumbled and fell. While there was a littering of hints that something wasn't quite right, nothing felt too much like things were coming to a head until Trump won his second presidential term in 2024. Some of that litter beforehand included Elon Musk taking over Twitter, rebranding it to X, and relieving us of any hope that it could return to the safe community it was when it started. Then move along to Trump unfortunately surviving another one of his many assassination attempts. The ear performance doesn't count. And leading up to his re-election, the blatant cock-sucking moves Musk pulled to get him into office were a huge, fuck you all, I have all the money I need to make this happen, to the face. I have a really detailed video embedded in this article on Substack that details exactly how he did that, like by the move, if you're interested in learning more about that and haven't seen it already. But with all the apparent illegal activities going on not so behind the scenes, women everywhere were left flabbergasted that he won over Kamala. On a personal note, this was one of the most deflating moments of my adult life. I remember feeling immense betrayal, shame, and sadness for weeks. Honestly, I just became a shell of myself and retreated inwards for a time. And I wasn't alone. And that betrayal was layered on thick. Soon after the administration was in, they started to dismantle everything that made women proud in the years prior. You can revisit my last episode to dive deeper into the details of what all happened this year under this administration. What a way to crumble the movement by taking away even more reproductive rights, calling women piggy, and remaining in office even after numerous sexual offenses are confirmed against you. I'm not even solely speaking to Trump here, I'm speaking to all the men and women who have stood idly by and haven't done shit about it. Women specifically have been the coffin sealers in this case, because what accountability could we ever hold to men if our own is on their side fighting against us and telling us to, effectively, shut up, close your legs, and take it? Closing thoughts. Here's my theory. We got boomeranged again. It also happened after the Obamas left the White House, didn't it? That came back to us negatively with having Trump in the next presidential seat. Then, when things started to turn up for women in society, and in some cases around the world, the authoritarians and white supremacists were like, and set off the TNT they had snuck into the foundation we were building towards a better life for women. We are actively crashing and burning. The shuttle reforging the path of women's exploration to a world where we can live in peace has been jettisoned by the men who ultimately still had power over the Mission Control Center. And it fucking hurts, man. It's in this country's DNA. It's inescapable. Well, almost inescapable. Hey, have you noticed a steady rise of period dramas and romantic fantasies taking over our media? There's a reason for that. Stay tuned for more on that next time.